So welcome everyone to the first webinar of our Mobility 2020 campaign. We are recording this webinar today as we will record all subsequent webinars, and the purpose of this webinar is to provide you with an orientation to how the campaign and everything will go. So those of you who haven't met me, my name is Elizabeth Frisch, and I'm one of the co-campaign leaders on this campaign with the Thrival company, and with me I have Glenn Gadbois.
Hi, I'm Glenn Gadbois, Executive Director Executive Director of Movability Austin, and the other co-partner on these webinars.
Great. And so what we're going to do today is just kind of give you an outline of how the actual campaign will go, and then we're also going to introduce you to one of the things that we've created to help you go at supersonic speed with putting in your own programs, and that's the Mobility Toolkit. So thank you everyone who has signed on to take the pledge for the 2020 campaign. Just a quick review for those of you who did sign the pledge. One of the things you get as being part of the leadership circle, of course, is the Mobility Toolkit, these webinars, and of course expert consulting support from Glenn, myself, and our staff members. And we have Kate and Matt also. Matt is with Movability, Kate's with the Thrival company, who will also be supporting you all through the campaign process. So, as you're looking forward, today's date is September 22nd. So just want to make sure you are all aware of some important dates. So first and foremost, if you haven't registered for all the webinars, this is your reminder to do so. They're running weekly, and they will be running for the next 6 weeks. And each webinar has a theme and a topic. This will be the only webinar we are talking at you. So Glenn and I are going to get you oriented, but all the rest of the webinars, we're going to have partners, other companies, your peers, and people really helping it be an interactive experience and to help you through the process. So bear with us for this short orientation, and we'll take you through the toolkit, and then all the rest of the webinars, be prepared to be online and be participating and also meet some of your great peers, partners, and the funders of this great initiative to help you move forward and do some great things. So just a few other dates to keep in mind. Mobility Week is October 20th through the 24th. And our goal is that every single one of you has a great pilot experience and gets to do a lot of fun and engaging things at Mobility Week. And so in some of the subsequent webinars, we're going to help you do that. The other thing, for those of you who took the pledge and are part of the leadership circle, and we're going to go over that today, we want you to have a long-term plan for business strategy and resilience. And so to that end, we've created a toolkit that has an amazing amount of resources that basically can take you from zero to a full program very quickly. With the Mobility Toolkit, what we've done is we've actually created a toolkit which outlines the 5 options of mobility. And so what that means is that this toolkit covers teleworking, transit and rail, carpooling and ride sharing, flex time, and cycling, so that you can very quickly put those programs in place for your organization. And so how the toolkit is structured is that each type of mobility solution, you're actually given templates that will allow you to fully implement a program, educate your employees, and in some cases, training, surveying, and metrics as appropriate. And then in subsequent webinars, we're going to have partners who offer those services and also your peer companies who provide those services to their employees currently, share all the things that they do and their lessons learned.
Toolkit is really designed to help walk you through the various tools and devices you might have and give you very easy step-by-step ways to consider what they are and then how you might use them going into the future. There are some key steps that we've identified that you just really need to pay attention to throughout the entire process. And that's our 4 steps that we start with. The first one is Elizabeth's.
Yes. So first, for those of you who've taken the pledge to work with us, our request is that you do assign a role and responsibility to someone in the company. It's the champion, the ally. They can be at any level of the organization as long as they are supported by the right people. So it can be your office manager, an HR person, a green team, or simply an employee who's really interested in the issue and highly motivated to work on it. You also want to make sure they have the necessary qualifications and skills, and that they are really great team builders, problem solvers, and motivators, because a lot of getting people to do mobility solutions is just dealing with people's resistances. And so the last but not least is this person should have and be supported in being able to measure and show success and performance so that the program stays in place and grows and grows.
And to make a 20% pledge, you need to have someone from your executive team with authority to actually sign and agree to that pledge and that commitment to reduce your drive-along travel by 20%. In addition to that, there are other key players that you should involve in the discussion. Those folks who are involved in management of parking and facilities, fleet, health insurance costs will be important to include in the discussion. If you have a sustainability or green team, those folks will care very much about this issue and are worth getting involved. And then the HR folks and those in charge of kind of employee and hiring, all of those people will be worthwhile for you to involve as you're starting up a program.
Great. And then step 3, and this is the part that you're going to get our help with, is having to do with developing a 3-year plan to get everything launched. So one of the things that we firmly believe in is that baby steps are great, and it usually takes about 3 years to get something through your company. And so one of the services we're going to provide you is ensure that you have a plan to move forward, that over a 3-year period, you can really have this program grow and be successful at your organization. So one of the things we're going to do is help you with budget required, what metrics, tracking and evaluation of the programs, which programs even work for your organization, any people resources you might need. Will help you with routine communications, training, and then of course, first and foremost for businesses and organizations is making sure everything that you develop in your 3-year plan aligns with the organization's overall business plan.
And finally, success is really an issue of behavior change. When most of your employees travel, they don't even stop to think about it. They simply pick up their keys, and the first time they may stop and think about their travel options is once they get stuck in traffic or circling the block looking for parking.
Yeah, as I was doing before this hour.
Exactly. And so it really is about behavior change, and that takes you thinking through and developing some very specific pieces to your overall program. Consistency over time is hugely important. Pilots and helping make it kind of incremental little bite-sized steps is also very important. Looking at kind of fully integrated approaches where you really are putting all the pieces in place to help them with barriers, but then also to help them or to help make sure you're not incentivizing one thing while trying to get them to do something else is something very important to do. And then finally, patience and time. Individual employees, really are, they're going to do this slowly to start with, but as you build momentum, as you get groups working together, there will be synergy and there will be kind of an organic growth that happens along the way.
Great. So that was the 4 kind of get you started points to make sure that you consider this as you're going in and working with us the next few months. Now we want to get you into the toolkit. So one of the things coming soon is the ability to download the toolkit as a giant zip file. But right now we have everything you need step by step on the screen, so you don't have to wait for that. That'll be up soon though, and we'll email you. But what we want to go now is how the toolkit works. So we structured this toolkit to allow you to go start from finish through the whole cultural as well as operational process of putting in mobility solutions. And so you'll see that the toolkit actually starts with something you may need to work with your management and convince people and get them interested in mobility solutions, which is the business case for telework and commuter programs. So as we mentioned, there are 5 ways to have mobility solutions, and telework is just one of them. We have 4 more. We have transit and rail, like Capital Metro's MetroWorks program. We have ride sharing, and so you're going to be hearing from a lot of the ride sharing folks around town. We have cycling, and there's a local company that's called B-Cycle we'll be talking about. And of course, we have flexible time. And so this toolkit covers all of those. And so one of the things that you'll find useful as you go and you educate people about the process are both the Word document and the PowerPoint that we've provided. And so these are actually in a format, and you'll notice this throughout the toolkit. We tried to keep them as stripped down as possible so that you could easily integrate them into your own company branding, materials, documents, logos, and things like that. So what you'll see is when you have the links, you'll be able to just click on those links. And what will happen is you will actually be able to open and see in the toolkit. And so I'm just going to give you a quick example here. So here's one of the materials we give you. And so what this is a 2-page document that you can print front and back, and it actually gives a very short summary if people are interested. What's the business case? Why would we do mobility solutions? And so going back to the toolkit, you'll also see we're giving you PowerPoints. And the reason we're giving you PowerPoints is we wanted to make sure that you were presentation ready. And so again, you can click on download to your desktop to actually use and see a really nice PowerPoint. It's our graphics, explanations, speaker notes, and all those basic things that you might want that if you are having to go present to your management, have something that's engaging, that's enjoyable, and that also gives the facts and statistics you need. And of course, you can feel free to adapt these in any way that works for your business. But the good news is a lot of the work that you would have to do, we've done it for you. So Glenn, do you want to talk next about establishing baseline data and how to get going?
Sure. So one of the most important steps you can do from the start is to do an inventory of what you're doing. As a consequence, we are providing very simple survey tools for you to go through and decide and really understand what's already offering, whether it's transit passes, whether it's some way to do carpooling or van pooling, or whether you have telework policies in place, flex schedule, all of that. And the other side of this is what your employees are doing. And we've also provided easy to use survey tools, both in terms of a Word document if in fact you already use a particular program, or survey, electronic survey documents if you want to use ours, that can be easily used to distribute to both for you to work on, or your commute team to work on, as well as in distributing out to your employees. That the employee survey will look at key things you need to know. How are they traveling now? What do they think about the traveling that they're doing now? What's working, what's not working? What might they be interested in? What will motivate them? What they'll care about? In enough detail to where you really can provide some analysis on what your employees are doing, and you'll be surprised by some of that. And then also to understand where you've got some what I call either curious or interested people that are likely to shift and are interested in shifting their travel behavior. And then you'll simply use that walking through the toolkit to decide which programs you might want to use to actually supply them with the information and the options that they're asking for.
Yes. So Glenn's going to scroll me down. So we have broken the toolkit into 3 parts. We talk about telework, we talk about commute solutions, and then we talk about flex time and how to establish flex time programs. And so the first thing we're actually going to go over is telework and what you can find in your telework toolkit. So what you'll see at the top of telework program development, telework follows a very step-by-step process. doing telework at an organization is definitely a culture change. And so how you'll see the toolkit is structured is for telework solutions, we're going to talk about the actual individual steps. And so we'll give you the purpose of each document we've provided. We'll give you suggestions on ways that you can use the tool. Sometimes, if it's appropriate, we'll give you some additional resources in addition to what we have put in the actual toolkit itself. And then we'll take you through all the way to the end, so from start to finish, so from implementation, measurement, and annual reporting, it's all here. So starting with the telework toolkit, you can see that, of course, we're starting telework 101 education presentation. And so what you're going to see is another engaging PowerPoint that you can use to educate people on why you would do telework at your organization, the advantages, and ways to successfully implement it. As well as we give you a little cheat sheet with everyone that you do on 7 steps to a thriving mobile workforce. That's in Microsoft Publisher. Other things you're going to find as you do program implementation is the more you programs and who studied them and who said they're successful or not, the better equipped you are. And so the next thing we're providing you with is a lot of educational things. And so we have telework useful facts and statistics. And what you're going to find is we've given you a very detailed Word document on studies, articles, publications, things like that, that will help you, for people who are very interested in knowing what other people have to say about telework, put something in place and date back. The next thing that will happen the minute you say that you're going to do a telework program, people are going to ask you lots of questions. And so we're going to save you some significant time. We've attached a telework FAQ that's been developed over literally almost a decade of companies and government agencies putting in a work program, and we've culled it down to the most common questions people ask about each type of telework. And so basically in this section, we've actually provided that you can look at, take, review, edit, and put your own organizational slant on it. But again, speeding up the process, making sure you're ready and thought the most likely questions your employees will ask you in a telework program. Now, on the management side, one of the first questions is, how are people ready to telework? How do they know? How do I know if my employee's right? How do I know if their job functions right? And that's what the purpose of the telework assessments for participants is. So if you go down and look, we've provided you 2 unique assessments. One can be taken by the employee themselves, and they can do a self-assessment and say, oh, if I score above 75% in this criteria, then maybe I'm a good candidate for telework, and they know that they can approach their manager as a possibility. And I'm just going to show you one assessment. And as I said, we did in Word. We recommend, of course, if you can put them in some PDF surveys or things, they're much easier to manage in large organizations, and especially when you have hundreds of people taking them. But we kept them in Word to make sure that they were universally able to be copied. And so in the telework assessment for employees, what you see is a series of 20 questions. And what we've said is if you have answered 75% or more of these yes, then you're probably a good candidate for telecommute. So approach your manager. And we did the same thing with a manager assessment. So what if a manager wants to know if an employee is right for telework? We've provided you the flip side, so the managers themselves can evaluate their employees and comfort level if they're right for telework or not. The other thing you'll notice in each section is we have given you a contact person to ask questions to. You may see Kate, you may see Elizabeth, you may see Glenn, you may see Matt, but you have our numbers and our emails. So if you're working with anything, you get stuck, you have a question, don't hesitate to reach out and email us. Now, one of the biggest humps that we have as an organization is getting to a policy that legal and human resources are comfortable with. And so we've provided you 2 sample policies that you can get started with, and you can copy in a description. We've also, because some of you might have labor unions, provided you with a link to the federal government site, because they actually have policies written for bargaining and non-bargaining labor unions, which is really helpful because that's an animal in and of itself. The policies do look different. And then last but not least, we have a great telework toolkit writing guide. If you are afraid you might leave something out of the policy, I promise you, if you follow this tool guide step by step, you will not miss anything in your telework HR policy. Once you've got that policy adopted, you need enrollment forms. You need to get people signed online. So we've given you 3 different ways that you can enroll people into the program and officially know and get the right information from them. Now, one of my favorite areas is, and the one I'm most concerned about, because everyone works in a company from home offices, is, are we taking care of ourselves at home as if we were in the office? And so what we've given you are some really powerful tools and assessments so that you can make sure from an ergonomics and a health and safety standpoint that your employees are not only ergonomically working well in their office, but they've addressed any safety concerns. And so we actually provided you an office ergonomics tip sheet with some of the most popular steps to setting up an ergonomic office. We've also got what we call a home office assessment checklist. So you may not, and most companies don't have to check every work home situation and do an inspection on site. And so you can use this checklist, have them fill it out. They self-identify any issues that you guys can discuss and resolve together. And then finally, we've got just some productivity and ergonomic tips of, you're sending the person home, let's give them a few things to think about, review, and read so that they work well at home. The next aspect in your telework program is going to be the training aspect. And we recommend training both employees and managers. And so what we've provided you in this section is both in a training that's focused with employees that you can adapt for your own organization, and also training focused for managers. And so don't let it fool you when you open these up. They may look similar. They're different, we promise. The back half managers training looks very different, as well as if you read the speaker notes, totally different sets of speaker notes that you learn and get up to speed so that you can appropriately train both your employees and your managers to be successful in a telework situation. Now, one of the things that's most important, especially with any mobility solution program, is to be able to show management the program's working. And so we did also add a telework metrics survey and annual report. And so what you're going to see in this section is we did provide you with both a survey for employees as well as a survey for the managers who manage employee telework. Both very important audiences, very distinct in their responses, and very great data to be able to show your managers. In addition, when you actually prepare your reports, there's lots of kind of soft metrics and hard metric management's going to be interested in. And so we've also given you metrics to consider for our overall program evaluation. So you can step through each one of those and see what's the easiest way that you could collect that data at your organization. Now, this section can seem overwhelming and intense, so again, please don't hesitate to reach out to us for support if you have any issues or questions on the stuff that we've developed here. So that brings me to the end of the telework section, where I hand it over to partner in crime, Glenn, here for on the commute solutions. But one of the things we do just have a reminder section, and of course you can get to it on other parts of the website, is please you take advantage of our webinars. And in fact, on the telework side and the commute side, one of the webinars we're going to have, Glenn and I are actually going to go through and give you a training that we give that you can use for your needs. So if you don't want to give the trainings we've provided, we're going to actually create one for you that you're going to be able to use. So make sure you sign up for the webinars. So with that, and that's with me, over to Glenn, and I'm going to back off camera a little bit.
And before we go, let's just show you up on our website, we have the schedule of webinars, and we have a way for you to register for each one of those webinars. So the next one we will have is going to be September, and that will be the Try It Before You Buy It. Looking forward to Mobility Week and what you might want to do in terms of a pilot experiment or promotion for that week. So back to, now let's talk about commute solution programs. And the first thing we start with is why you want to consider commute solutions. It's improving your retention, enhancing productivity, really looking at how people spend their time when they drive alone versus using options. And if somebody wants to use it, they then all of a sudden also have lots of things to do with that time that they might prefer to do, and so we will run you through some of those. Reduce parking need and the parking spaces that you may or may not have in downtown Austin. Our parking is so that we have very few month-to-month parking spaces available. That's a big issue down here. That may or may not be a problem or a concern for you. But then also to realize tax benefits and the tax program that that you can avail yourselves of. The first thing we want to kind of raise and help you think about is your marketing strategies. We have what we call a one-stop marketing assistant that will really walk you through the different marketing considerations you want to deploy in terms of communication, how you frame with your employees, because offering options is really all about helping your employees to understand why they might want to change their behavior, and then giving them the information to allow them to have what will actually work for them, how to find it, and how to use it. We also walk you through the HR benefits and activities. So, so again, we're describing the same way that Elizabeth had before. There are a number of benefits and for HR. The first one we walk you through is the commuter tax benefit primer, how you would set up any commute program you might do to use the tax benefit that's available. We'll walk you through that step by step with our primer. The next is a commuter stipend, and getting you to think about how that may or may not work. That stipend can be anything from we will pay a portion of a particular commute option. We will pay for a portion of a transit pass, for example, through a stipend where you are giving the employee X amount of money, and with their agreement, they're not going to drive in and use a parking. That frees up that parking space and those costs, and that allows them, the employee, to then be the shopper for what commuting they want to spend their money on. And then finally, a new employee orientation guide. We give you a template basic that you can plug in with your other new employer orientation, but it is focused on transportation, why they will want to consider that as they're becoming a new employee, and what their options are in terms of tools for traveling some way besides driving oil. That is incredibly important. Just make sure you understand this, both so they know what you are providing in terms of commute benefits, but also that they are thinking appropriately about the transportation challenges they will have on an employee. For an employee is just incredibly important. That then helps them to make all sorts of decisions, from where they're living to to how they'll structure their day, and therefore you're hiring an employee that isn't going to be frustrated a month in because they didn't understand the travel challenges getting to work. And now the toolkit walks you into or through, and you detailed information on each one of the commute services that you might integrate into your employee package. Capital Metro has developed a very helpful set of employer-focused tools that they call Metro Works. We have provided down below the key contact for that. They now have a website up and running. The basic idea here is aggregating employees into a pool can get you a discount for employee passes, and they want to make it as easy as possible for a company to set that up. and offer that to their employees, and everybody then wins with discount, more people using transit, and the company provides that as another benefit. There will be a couple of things for you to decide along the way, whether your company wants to manage how that transaction happens, how the distribution of packets, and so we will walk you through asking and answering those questions. If you simply want to set up a reimbursement program where your employees go out and buy, that's another set of arrangements. And then again, you could do some benefit, otherwise called parking cash out, where you're simply providing a lump sum of money and the employee is deciding whether they want to buy a transit pass with that and pocket the rest, or what exactly they want to do. We walk you through each of those considerations in this toolkit, and then we give you a way to connect to MetroWorks. In addition, there are also carpool and vanpool services. And so I'm looking at this to clean it up a little bit, but basically there are two different services here that we've lumped together because there are some close similarities to them. Carpooling and vanpooling. Right now, let's talk, we walk you through what carpool is all about why you might want to use it and offer it to your employees. And really at this point, carpooling is simply helping your employees to find carpool matches that they might want to use, find people that live near them, and making those arrangements. There are also some specific considerations they may want to make in making a carpool arrangement. We walk you through providing you both additional resources and a guide for both your employees and employers as you're going through each one of those steps. And then there are some helpful outside applications that you might want to use, Karma, Ride Scout. Both of them will work with you to allow your employees to set up a way to find only fellow employees or to look to the universe for ride matching. As far as van pool goes, it's important to understand that Capital Metro has a van pool program. Very easy to use. We help you to connect with that. That's VRides is the vendor that provides those services for Capital Metro. We walk tools that employees have to use, the sign-up forms, all that sort of stuff in our tools. And then again, if there are any questions or you find that you need help with it, we've given contact information for that. The next one that we get you to consider is there are all sorts of independent share service, whether it's Car2Go or Zipcar or Austin B-Cycle, that end up being other great options for traveling if somebody lives close enough. They're a little on the expensive side if you're having to travel great long distances, but certainly for short distances. They also make fabulous what I call safety net options if somebody uses, say, transit to come into work, when they need a car to run an errand or to pick up son, daughter at school for some emergency reason. Those kind of services are great for that. And then bike is all a very handy kind of last mile connection. So we talk you through ways you might want to use those as a company, and then we'll walk you through both how to connect to them and a very handy guide on considerations to make as you're using or deciding to share them with your employees. Basically, an employee has to sign up for them, give a credit card and a driver's license, and the employee will get charged for use of those. Then there are some policy options. Do you want to reimburse? Do you want to share for some of those costs? Do you want to have a corporate account that pays for their use in specific circumstances? We walk you through how to make those considerations. And then finally, there are some there's the flex time program, and we're going to go back to Elizabeth because I've been talking for a little bit.
All right. So on the flex time program, oftentimes flex can be one of the easiest programs to implement because it requires the least amount of hard infrastructure. It's more just getting people's schedules aligned. And so when we say flex time programs, we are talking about a bunch of different things. Flex time can look different ways. And so one of the things we just go through in this section is, what are your flex time options? You may not be aware, but there's actually 5 unique ways people can do flex time in today's modern workplace. The first being job sharing. That's actually the oldest. Remember back 20 years ago when they started 2 people working half-time in the same job, and they got more life flexibility that way. The second one, which is really common and a lot of people probably have heard of it today, is flex hours, where you either come in earlier or later than other people in your organizations have 6 to 3 shifts or 10 to 7 shifts, and that gets their employees out of that peak traffic. Third option, compressed work week, important to think about, again, very commonly used, where you might have employees do 4 10s and a 4. And the other option that's really common is 10-hour days, a 4-day work week, and alternate the days so you always have coverage 5 days a week as a business. And then the second is when you do 4 long 9-hour days plus a 4-hour day. And so both of those options are really popular with employees, and they can be set to ensure that you always have coverage. 2 more that are less known, but companies do them, is what we call long and short. Some companies have peak and demand periods, so they're really busy sometimes and not busy others. And so sometimes there are companies out there, including my own, sometimes we work more than 40 hours a week during busier times, and we're allowed to work less during slower times, and we've created our benefits to accommodate that.
South by Southwest does that one naturally.
Yes, South by Southwest does that one naturally. And then number 5, project hours. So you might not realize that not just consultants do this now. There are actually businesses who structure that employees are paid by the project versus site, and so they function more like an external consultant, but they are employees of the organization. But again, their hours can come up and be flexible and allow them to have lots of options in working. So we just go over steps in this section of how to ensure you're successful, and then of course you're going to have our expertise. You can ask questions as you go through this process with your management, try to determine from your baseline surveys that we've given you what might work for your employees. We can help you identify out of those 5 options which are the best. So that just took us to the end. So thank you so much for your time and attention today. Glenn, I think we were going to just review a few things from we've talked to what happens up to Mobility Week, but Glenn, do you want to talk about what happens after Mobility Week with our leadership circle?
Yeah, but before I go there and leave Toolkit, I want to say one last item. We think we've developed kind of a unique and the best tool product we've seen around. If we've missed something, yes, you've got contact information. Let us know. We'll add it to the toolkit, make sure you know about that, and we will also add it to FAQs if appropriate for that as well. So we appreciate you letting us know if something you're curious or that you. Now, so Mobility, as Elizabeth said, October 20th through 24th, it's a great time to try it before you buy it. Really what we're looking to do with this 2020 Mobility Solution is employers to develop lasting programs that can go 3 to 5 years, that can for their overall strategic planning, can make sense for your bottom line, but also can help your employees for the future that is coming. Because the future for transportation looks grim if we don't get more people using options and fewer people driving them. So after October and after we try it to buy it, we, Elizabeth and her team and Movability and our team, will help employers to then formalize the experiments, the questions we walk you through in terms of these different commute options and workplace options, mobile work, flex schedule. Walk you through all of those considerations, tailor what will work for you, and at the end of December, provide you recommendations on how you could integrate that in your strategic plan, commuting a real program for your business and serve your business needs. In addition to that, we plan by mid-November to come back with some aggregate reporting on what we found and what happened from mobility, to some real data points to help everybody understand what we're able to achieve when we all work together.
All right.
Does that cover it?
That covers it. Well, thanks again for joining us today, and we will see you next week.